In 2025, Peru is betting $24 billion on water, enough to cover a landmass larger than Puerto Rico, in a bid to transform 1 million hectares of desert, highlands, and jungle into fertile farmland. This isn't just pipes and pumps, it's a nationwide drive to vault agriculture past mining as the country's top export, lift millions out of poverty, and reshuffle global food markets. Welcome to Peru's $24 billion farmland boom. When Peru's farmers exported a record-breaking $12.8 billion in agricultural products in 2024, chiefly blueberries, grapes, and avocados, it was proof of both ambition and constraint. Despite having vast potential, only about 250,000 hectares, roughly 15% of Peru's total irrigable land, benefit from modern systems. The remainder remains under the mercy of the arid Pacific coast's scant rainfall, the unpredictable rains of the Andes, or the flood seasons of the Amazon. This fractured water reality throttles rural jobs and caps productivity. It was against this backdrop that Peru's Agriculture Minister Angel Manero boldly announced in March 2025 the country's grand vision, transforming an extra 1 million hectares into irrigated productive land by 2040 to underpin nearly $40 billion in exports. By expanding our irrigation systems, Manero told Reuters, we unlock food security, millions of jobs, and move exports toward $40 billion by 2040. In essence, he laid out a simple equation. Channeling water becomes channeling prosperity. At the heart of this irrigation boom lies Trasvas Marañón, a $7 billion centerpiece that will tunnel water 700 kilometers from the Marañón River across the Andes, irrigating 300,000 hectares of previously barren coastlands. Slated to begin in late 2025 and wrap up in 2031, this flagship project includes 2 massive intake stations, a sprawling 2,800-kilometer network of canals, and high-capacity pumping plants, all engineered to leapfrog the region's reliance on seasonal and unreliable water sources. If Trasvas Marañón is the flagship, then Chinecas is the northern workhorse. Valued at $3.5 billion, this revitalized 1970s canal initiative aims to bring water to 50,000 hectares between Chiclayo and Piura, enabling consistent irrigation for rice paddies, mango orchards, and palm oil groves. Construction kicked off mid-2025 with sediment basins and land leveling, and full irrigation is expected by 2030, linking up the northern coast's agricultural potential to national growth. Further south in the Ica Desert, Pampas Verdes is making bold use of innovation. With a $4 billion investment, it combines desalinated and recycled water to green 100,000 hectares in extreme arid conditions, targeting high-value crops like asparagus and wine grapes. Since Q2 2025, test wells and field trials have been underway, with the first successful harvests expected by 2032 as part of Peru's wider agricultural modernization. The strategy doesn't stop there. A further 19 projects covering the highlands around Cusco, Amazon floodplain controls in Laredo, and canal junctions in Arequipa plan to convert 630,000 hectares of varied terrain. Announced with presidential fanfare in March 2025, these schemes are expected to be tendered by mid-2026 and fully operational by 2030. These flagship and supplementary projects aim to do more than just pump water. They hope to pump new life into Peru's economy, catalyzing an export jump, reducing poverty, and weaving rural regions into a modern national web. With water as the thread, the country is betting that a landscape transformation can rewrite its economic destiny. Behind Peru's $24 billion farmland initiative lies a strategic reliance on public-private partnerships, PPPs, a model championed by Economy Minister Jose Salardi. At the unveiling in March 2025, Salardi emphasized that over 85% of the investment will flow through PPPs, spreading out costs, leveraging private sector efficiency, and accelerating development timelines. Complementing this, a 2024 study from ProInversion, the government's investment promotion agency, identifies 250,000 more hectares ready for PPP-led irrigation, representing up to $4.3 billion in additional private sector investment. Under this model, private firms take charge of engineering, procurement, and construction, while the government repays them through ongoing availability payments tied to performance. That protects public coffers from cost overruns and delivers on-time infrastructure. Concession periods span 20 to 30 years, during which firms operate and maintain systems before assets revert to state ownership. Recent PPP reforms, led by Solarity and ProInversion, further streamline planning to award timelines, fast-tracking contracts for multi-billion-dollar irrigation and even port and sanitation infrastructure alike. This financing approach not only offers speed and accountability, but also signals a global lesson, modernizing agriculture without total government funding so that rural Peru grows responsibly and efficiently. The question now is whether these partnerships can deliver not just farms, but lasting prosperity. Peru's Ministry of Economy anticipates a net addition of 2.4 million jobs, spanning direct roles in construction and operation and indirect roles in processing, logistics, and agribusiness across 14 regions nationwide. In areas where rural poverty hovers around 20%, the infusion of agroeconomies could have that rate, boosting incomes as irrigation systems spur year-round cultivation and new economic corridors. On the export front, analysts forecast an added $32 billion by 2040, putting Peru well on its way to the $40 billion target. Crucially, beef and pork exports to China, the focus of trade deals last year, are now feasible thanks to stable water for feedlots, Reuters. But the ripple goes further. Pipelines spark cold chain investment, packaging hubs, trucking firms, and port expansions, compounding GDP gains. In provinces like Piura, Ica, and La Libertad, entire agribusiness clusters with SMEs, storage, and financing are already forming around future water zones, redefining regional economies in real time. Through modernized water infrastructure and public-private finance, Peru is not just increasing yield, it's reshaping labor markets, rural demographics, and export diversity, reinventing itself as a powerhouse agro-export economy. This irrigation boom isn't just about area metrics, it's transforming lives and landscapes. Take the Andean highlands, where subsistence farmers once planted potatoes just once a year on unreliable rain-fed terraces. Now, modern irrigation delivers steady water, enabling 2 or 3 cropping cycles annually. Studies from similar highland schemes report crop yield increases of 30 to 70% and household income boosts ranging from 25 to 100%. Meanwhile, in the Amazon's floodplain regions, once restricted to seasonal harvesting of palm hearts and tropical fruits, irrigation regulation is stabilizing floods and unlocking new cash crop cycles. These infrastructure projects aren't insular. Many irrigation cooperatives have doubled as community learning hubs, where farmers gather not only to manage water, but to attend workshops on techniques, entrepreneurship, and crop diversification. This institutional layer builds capacity, fosters resilience, and empowers local leadership. About 63,730 producers across 19 water users organizations have already invested in irrigation improvements, contributing nearly 14% of costs themselves. Infrastructure roads, power lines, and broadband connectivity are built in parallel, turning canals into arteries of development. Now, remote highland and jungle communities are linked to markets, schools, and hospitals, bridging geographic divides and knitting together a more inclusive Peru. Scale invites risk. Diverting large volumes from the Marañón could reduce downstream flows, affecting aquatic ecosystems, fisheries, and riverine communities. Pampas Verdes flags another dilemma. While desalination and recycling open arid lands, they need vast energy and produce brine that must be safely disposed of. In Amazon fringe zones, trenches carry the threat of fragmenting delicate forest mosaics and disrupting wildlife corridors. To counterbalance these impacts, Peru's new protocols require net zero deforestation for all irrigation projects, and biodiversity compensation at 1.5 times the area of disturbance, well beyond the conventional one-to-one offset. Projects are also required to implement integrated watershed management. Sediment traps reduce canal silting and erosion. Riparian buffers and tree planting lines stabilize banks. Fish ladders at intake points help preserve native migratory species. And solar-powered pumps offer sustainable water delivery without adding emissions. The Chance Lambayeque reused wastewater pilot in Lambayeque illustrates a social ecological success. WWTP treated municipal effluent irrigates 250 to 350 hectares while safeguarding public health and engaging farmers in participatory water management. In other regions, the World Bank's 2023 Sierra Irrigation Support Initiative, backed by a $100 million loan, integrated climate-adaptive infrastructure with farmer training across 19 regions, enhancing resilience and governance. Through these layers, community engagement, infrastructure integration, ecological safeguards, and climate-smart financing, Peru's irrigation boom aspires not just to spread water, but to cultivate an equitable and ecological model of rural modernization. The challenge will be balancing ambition with conservation, growth with equity, and infrastructure with stewardship. Peru's boom isn't just bigger, it's smarter. Projects embed drip irrigation, cut water use by 30% versus flood canals, remote sensing monitors crop health, and blockchain tracks produce authenticity from field to fork. In highlands, solar-powered gravity systems replace diesel pumps, while in desert zones, AI-driven scheduling aligns water release with crop evapotranspiration needs. Public universities partner with Dutch and Israeli research institutes, training the next generation of agri-engineers. This transfer cements Peru's role as a regional innovation hub, not merely a raw materials supplier. Peru's Grand Irrigation Initiative marches forward with ambitious steps that intertwine timeframes and challenges into a unified story. From 2025 through 2026, the government will finalize project details, signing contracts, resolving land and water title issues, and securing environmental and technical permits. These foundational moves prepare the ground for the physical build-out across the desert, highland, and floodplain regions. From 2026 to 2030, heavy civil works will dominate the landscape. Massive canal systems and intake structures will be constructed, pumping stations installed, and irrigation networks lined, transforming barren expanses into lifelines for agriculture. By 2030, the focus will shift toward operational deployment as the irrigation network is activated, farms receive dedicated water connections, and technical support teams begin training local farmers. This transitional period extends through 2035, ensuring each harvest season meets its promise and local teams can manage and maintain the systems. After 2040, the moment of truth arrives. Peru's $24 billion farmland boom is more than irrigation. It's a metamorphosis of economy, society, and environment. By channeling water where it's scarce, Peru aims to feed millions, lift regions out of poverty, and tip its economy towards sustainable growth. The world will watch whether these pipelines deliver prosperity or if the waters run too deep with complexity. If you're intrigued by how water can reshape nations, and subscribe, because next we would be speaking on Africa's food forest mega project.